What's up, everyone? Welcome back. Today we have Bitcoin rejecting off a key resistance. We also have the stock market gapping up with the SPY and the Qs both opening higher. And Wall Street says might be too pessimistic on consumer stocks, but don't buy them, said Morgan Stanley. So, is right now a good time to be buying this dip? Are we going to see stocks move higher or are we going lower? That is what I wanted to discuss. In today's video, we'll be covering stocks, commodities, and crypto. So if that sounds good to you, you know what to do. Be sure to hit the like button and be sure to subscribe to hit more. All right, guys, let's get into it. So, what is going on? Well, Tom from FX Evolution posted this over here. The Bank of China will announce they will not raise rates when markets are unstable. So that's bringing some stability to the markets, and we also have the financial sector still doing strong here, setting at 42.16 on XLF. So that is good. As long as this financial sector holds up, I think that we will continue to see the markets go higher. Of course, as they lend out more debt, we know this eventually ends bad, but I think we still have about another 6 to 12 to 18 months before we do see a top. Uh, of course, we don't want to really truly predict, but we need to take a look at the data and what is going on. So, what is going on? Well, you do see some of these big cap stocks recovering here a little bit. This is Amazon sitting at 166, and it went down and got that gap fill perfectly. Uh, so we know that the markets like to fill these gaps and find these inefficiencies. Also, NVIDIA uh, reclaiming the 382 setting at 105, and it looks like NVIDIA may want to come up here and retest this area here of resistance around 117 to 120. So that is a possibility here in the coming days as the RSIs have reset on the daily and are coming down. We are starting to look for a bottom. So if we can find some support in this area, well, we may see a bounce here. If we do lose this level, then I think this zone right here around that 95 area will probably act as support. And on the weekly chart, well, um, I just wanted to point out one thing here. The RSIs are coming down to the bottom side, and typically when we see them at the bottom and we see that cross, that's when we get these uh, movements upward. So I just wanted to point that out. One other thing I did want to point out on this chart here on the daily, and you see this on a lot of these stocks, is there's still a gap fill lower. So if we do happen to lose these levels, we could be going down there to retest that. The markets do like to fill these gaps, as I mentioned, and then potentially we would move higher. Um, but if we did start to lose some of these key levels here, well, there is the real potential that fear may take over, and we could see these markets putting in a top. One thing I would keep an eye on is the NASDAQ here, and we have this long uh, upsloping trend line, and we may go up and retest the bottom of side of that and reject. And if we can't get above that, well, then that may be our signal. Um, and I just wanted to zoom out here. Again, this is the daily chart. So what I wanted to really show you on this is that this is our trend line here acting as support, and we have dipped below it a couple times and reclaimed it. You can see that's happened a couple of times, so it's still possibility. And we also know that when we put in these longer short-term chart patterns here, where we have this long sideways area of accumulation. When we tend to break out of that, well, we can take our measurement from the bottom of that to the um, neckline there. Well, it's the neckline on the inverse head and shoulders, but basically that line there, once we broke through, and that gives you, still shows us that we may be going to a 532 on the Qs. So that's why I think these markets will probably still go higher. And also, if you look at the dailies here, you haven't seen oversold conditions on the 14 RSI like this for several months. You do see back here in April, that is when we tended to find that low and see a bounce. We also were down around these levels last year in October. So it does look like these markets probably still will go higher, although there is a potential that they may go lower first. So that's just something to keep in mind. What other markets can we look at? Well, I think the metals markets are looking pretty good here. We have gold setting at 23.99, finding support here again at our key level. So it does look like gold wants to move higher. We have the RSIs coming down to the bottom side on the daily. So I do think that we will probably see gold go higher here. We also That is also good for things such as the gold miners. I mentioned silver yesterday. I thought that that was at a great level, and today the gold miners GDX sitting at 35.84, and we did wick down to the bottom side of this area here where we thought we might find some support, and right now we have the RSIs crossing over on the daily. And if we just zoom out here to the weekly chart, I wanted to point this out. The RSI indicator is coming back down again, and so if we get another cross, well, I think we will see a bounce up to this take profit zone of around $40, anywhere from 39 to 41. I think we will probably see that, and there is the potential that we could put in a higher high here, as we are overall still in an uptrend. So I think that's a real possibility. And if we can get back above this line here, this long-term downsloping trend, and hold that area, well, I think these stocks will go higher. What other stocks can we look at if we want to get maybe some higher returns? Well, I think one of those would be the Bitcoin miners. They have been absolutely sold off here. Was at 27, and it is down nearly 50% to the bottom. Of course, these higher risk assets do move more when there is uh, negativity in the news or in a risk off environment, which right now I would say that we probably kind of are in a risk off environment here for maybe the next couple of weeks until we get more clarification what's going on. But nevertheless, these stocks can move a lot in just a couple of days. I did want to point out here on Mara that we did get this gap fill, and I don't see any other gaps here on the weekly down below that. So that looks good for this stock. We are putting in a series of higher lows and higher highs, and we do know that whenever these central banks come in and try to prop up the economy and buy the bonds and keep everything going, that is when these uh, types of stocks do very well, similar to what we've seen back in 2021. If we just zoom out here a little bit, we've got several areas where we could go. I do think that there is a real possibility we could retry or try to retest some of these upper areas here. I think that is a real possibility for some of these stocks, and I still think that that's probably maybe 6 to 12 months out, probably now sometime during 2025. I thought there was a chance that that may happen this year, and I think that there still is a chance that could happen this year. However, with the kind of reset that we have seen, this may take a little more time to play out. And of course, the elections coming up will probably play somewhat of a role in this. Um, and nevertheless, I do think these stocks still will go much higher over the next 6 to 12 to 18 months. And one other thing I wanted to point out here, we'll just zoom back in on this here a little bit, is the RSIs are coming down to the bottom side. And anytime you see these RSIs down here at the bottom side, well, that's when you start to see that big tick up where you get these big moves upward. We can take a measurement. What happened there back in October, because I do think that you will probably see something kind of similar this fall. Uh, we know that the fourth quarter tends to be very bullish for crypto and Bitcoin, and so you could see something similar to this right here was a 311% return. I don't suspect that that's going to happen quickly, but however, I do think if we go to the daily chart here, we can see that the RSIs are on the bottom side, and it looks like it's trying to tick up. So if we can break this key level right here, well, I definitely think that we could go hit our first take profit zone right around 25 to $28. Another ETF we could look at is BKCH, and this is uh, also a blockchain ETF, similar to Mara. I think they hold Mara as well as some other crypto miners, but they also hold things like Coinbase, currently sitting at 41.74. Pretty similar chart to Mara, and right now we are retesting the bottom side of that uh, previously support, now resistance. And again, the RSIs are coming down on the weekly, and also the daily is at the bottom side. And we can zoom in here just a little bit more on these lower time frames. This is the 4 hour, and you can see it is also at the bottom side. And in the video I made yesterday, there was one thing I wanted to point out. I think I forgot to mention that if we take a look at these charts on the 4 hour, particularly looking at the RSI 14 close, you can see we are at levels down here that we haven't seen again in several months. We saw this back in April before we saw this movement higher, and we also saw levels similar to this where this moving average here um, is down at the bottom side, and right when it just starts to roll over and starts to tick up, then you get those big movements to the upside. So that's something to keep in mind. So I do think that there is some really good opportunities here because on some of these here, there is the real possibility over the next few weeks that we could see a movement back up to this take profit zone, and that's no joke. 52% gain just to about the lower third of our take profit zone. So there is a lot of potential in these type of stocks, both in the short term and the medium to longer term. I would not hold these stocks as long-term investments, although maybe you could, maybe something like this. Um, where they are actively managed funds and they look for the best companies within the blockchain space. So there is the potential that maybe you would want to hold something like this over the long term. Nevertheless, these things do move very volatile, uh, and you can see that these types of moves, these are similar types of moves to what you do see in a lot of the altcoins, probably similar to what you see in the uh, layer ones. Um, and you can see how much this dropped here off 2021 into 2022. The question would be is does these type of funds make higher highs than previously? And this one possibly could because there is a lot of big players here that this fund holds. But one thing I do want to mention, if you just take a look at something like Mara here, and let's just zoom out to the weekly on this because I want to make this clear for people who are looking at these types of things. You can see Mara's been around for a long time, since the 2000s, and I don't even think this chart here goes all the way back. Well, maybe it was introduced in 2013, but you see this long downward trend here. When these spikes do spike, they are explosive. Nevertheless, um, typically a lot of these companies over the long term struggle, particularly the Bitcoin miners, just because of the cost associated with mining. But nevertheless, good short to medium term trades for sure. If you're interested in buying stocks, commodities, gold, or crypto, you can do so over on Robinhood. Right now, Robinhood offers a 1% boost and 8 times the national savings rate. They allow you to begin investing and building your portfolio with just as little as $1, and they allow you to invest in stocks, options, ETFs, and trade commission free. They also offer Bitcoin, Ethereum, Doge, and many more. If you're interested, again, there is a link down below. And what I like about Robinhood is that they allow you to buy fractional shares of stocks, meaning that if a stock is valued at, say, $800 and you have $50 to start with, well, you can buy a fractional share. All right, guys, let's get into crypto and what is going on there. Bitcoin rejecting here from 58,000, approximately 57.8, looks like was our top here this morning. So right now, what is going on with Bitcoin? We did see this massive sell-off here over the past few days. And really, Bitcoin kind of acts as a lead indicator in the fact that these risk-on assets kind of sniff out trouble first. We have had about a 30% pullback here for Bitcoin. So this is nothing new to crypto. Crypto is volatile, and they do see these types of moves. Um, what does that mean for the markets? Well, um, first off, I just wanted to point out that let's go to the 4-hour chart on Bitcoin here just to get a better view of this, and I'm going to have to reload this chart. Stick with me 1 minute. We'll get this chart pulled back up here, and I want to show you some of the key areas that we should be looking at for Bitcoin. Um, Currently, we have this downwards sloping trend, so that may act as resistance. If we can get above that, well, I think we'll be back above our $60,000. That will be key to reclaim that range. However, I did think that maybe we would see a little rejection here as the RSIs have moved to the top side on the stochastic on the 4-hour. as well as I believe the 1 hour is actually it has come back down now. Nevertheless, I do suspect that we may see a little bit of a pullback here, but if we zoom out and take a look at the daily, well, we fell back into this channel and the mid-range there, right around 50 to 52,000, got wicked through, but was bought up very quickly. And the RSIs are at the bottom side on the daily. So could Bitcoin go lower from here? Yes, I definitely think it could. Wicks like these tend to get retraced about 50% of the way down. I think that we will be looking to see if Bitcoin can put in maybe some sort of double bottom here before moving upwards. Uh, However, I still think that long term Bitcoin is going much higher. I do think if we can get out of this zone, I do think that you will see a six-figure price for Bitcoin. Whenever we do get up above these all-time highs and reclaim that area, I think we're going to 80,000 relatively quickly, probably in just a matter of a couple days or a couple weeks once that happens. Um, Once these breakouts occur, they happen very fast. And one other thing I wanted to point out is if we take a look at the weekly, that we are still at the bottom side here on the RSIs. It looks like the weekly is going to come back down, possibly uh, test the bottom side of this range here one more time here in the next couple of weeks. I do think that we probably only have maybe 4 to 6 weeks before we see the lows in these markets, and then things will start to move higher. We know this time of year is typically weak for crypto and technology and the stock market in general. Uh, Typically, we do see stock market bottoms around August or September before moving into fall and going into the last quarter of the year and see those Santa Claus rallies. So I do think by the end of the year, things are looking much better here. Um, what else can we take a look at? Ethereum also coming back down to retest this area here, sitting at 2390. And so Ethereum is at the bottom side. You can see the RSIs here are extremely oversold on the RSI 14 close. Um, and really, you have not seen a level this low here on this indicator since August of 23, so almost exactly 1 year ago, and that was when we had this long sideways basing accumulation. That was the bottom for Ethereum. So I do think that Ethereum will go much higher. I definitely think we'll see a 4,000, possibly 7, 8, maybe even $10,000 Ethereum. How about for Solana? Solana holding up here better than a lot of the rest of the crypto market. We never really lost this key area of support. We did wick below it. And of course, we could come back down and retest this line again. I think that would be an absolutely uh, great entry right around that $120. The RSIs are at the bottom side on the daily stochastic as well. We take a look here at the weekly. This looks pretty similar for a lot of these charts, and I definitely think Solana is going to be one of those that probably leads the way and breaks out first. So what I have been doing with my portfolio, I just wanted to mention is this sell-off here really taught me a nice little lesson about buying strength, and you want to be in these stronger coins because a lot of these coins have really been hammered. Um, Nevertheless, I think Solana is probably one of the strongest ones um, out there, and it looks like these markets or some of these coins here may start to outperform Bitcoin fairly soon. We had the Bitcoin dominance topping, finding resistance, and I do think a lot of these altcoins are really going to start getting ready to take off here in the coming weeks and the coming months. Um, but yeah, I wanted to zoom out because again, this weekly chart here on the RSI is moving back down, showing that we may have a bit more weakness, and that is kind of why I'm thinking that these markets may go lower first. Um, Again, if we just go to something like the Qs, well, if we go let's just take a look at the weekly chart on the Qs, and it looks like it's going to make me reload this chart as well. Sorry guys, give me 1 minute here. Um, I don't know why TradingView does this. If anyone knows, drop a comment down below. Uh, it is a little frustrating sometimes just because why did that not pull up? The whenever you're doing live streams like these, that you have to go back and reload these charts. No one likes to see that. Anyway, so here on the Qs on the weekly, we are also at the bottom side of this RSI. But what I wanted to point out is trying to regain my thought after that. We were talking about Solana and why we may see a bounce. Uh, let's go back to that chart, take a look here. My point being is, oh yeah, is when this market does bottom out, it does look like it's probably a couple weeks till we find this bottom side before we really get a clear direction of which way we're going. And in that time, well, you can potentially move a bit lower. However, I do think that the bottom is in for this dip here over the next several weeks. So I do suspect that we will move higher. And then the question is, what happens after that? Do we then reject and then set in another low? Well, I do think that is a real possibility. Nevertheless, I do think a lot of these altcoins will do really well this fall. If you're interested in buying Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, and many more, you can do so over at iTrust. iTrust Capital allows you to buy, sell, and trade crypto, gold, and silver 24/7 in a tax advantage IRA. They also have low cost and no monthly fee. If you're interested, there is a link down below. What I like about iTrust is they actually have people that you can call and talk to, and they have over 5,000 plus 5-star reviews on Google. All right, guys, it is Wednesday, hump day, halfway through the week. How is everyone doing? I hope you are safe out there. You are doing okay despite this pullback. Uh, I think one of the big things that we need to keep an eye on will be earnings, and particularly NVIDIA coming up here in a couple of weeks. So I think that is important. And yeah, you can follow me over here on X at Mind of Financier. I am Mind of the Financier on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. So you can follow me there as well. But over here on X, I post anything that I see that has to do with the markets, including stocks, commodities, and crypto. All right, guys, I hope you all have a great day. Take care. Until next time, be legendary and peace.